Hello, everyone. Today on the TTRPG Flip Through, we are talking about Flabbergasted, a comedic role playing game. This is the first game by Wanderer's Tome, and it is an amazing first effort. It's just a wonderful book with very cohesive design and wonderful illustration. And furthermore, it is in a genre that does not get a lot of attention in the TTRPG community, and I think it's important that we move into more of these genres to expand the hobby to more players. There's a lot of people who aren't going to be interested in heroic high fantasy or sci-fi horror, and so having these other options is going to bring more people to the table. And this is just a great example of something that I think can do that. So, looking at this illustration, I mean, this is an example of how fantastic uh, when you open it up to get this dynamic picture here. This is, it's reminiscent of Disney or other cell drawn animation, but there's a modern touch to it, a modern flair to it, and it's all tied into this game. So these are the four main archetypes in the game. You have the aristocrat, the staff, you have the well-to-do on our horse here, and the bohemian, the artist down here. I might be mixing these two up, but I believe that's what it is. And you can see, that how she's perched up here on the horse is giving you a little bit of comedy in that picture, setting the tone right from the start. And what do you need to play? Friends, dice, writing material. Very simple. Gives you, and it's just D6. It's a D6 dice pool system. Goes on to talk about role playing. Of course, again, these little images, these little illustrations are scattered throughout the book, and these little notes from the author are written in here. Time to bring out your inner thespian. So again, this is setting the tone. This is not a game of combat, not so much exploration. This is a game that's going to be focused on role play. So it goes a little bit to talk about the setting and what it means to be in the 1920s. And it tells you, it doesn't have to be, it is inspired by history. It does not have to be historically accurate. And it does, the key scenario, it's Picadillo or Picadillo, if you want to pronounce it that way. It is definitely European. It could easily be, it's. I think its main purpose is to be an analog to London in the 1920s, but you could easily adapt this system to other areas in the 1920s. Like, for instance, I would like to do Chicago. I think that would be really great to do a 1920s Chicago scenario with gangsters, prohibition, all of that. Again, if you aren't clear of the tone, it does spell out the tone here and talk about failing forward. And this is really important. This game also talks about how this is not a game of success or failure. This is more of a game about how do they get to that end point. So that is an important thing to think about too. Breaks down kind of the pillars of play here, how you need a director, your player characters are playing protagonists in the story. They are part of a social club, and this helps bring them together into a group, but also provides a mechanism for longer term play as you improve the social club. And as you might get a sense, this is a little bit similar to Blades in the Dark in the way that the characters are crafted, the dice pool system, and having a social club that you are maintaining and improving over time. And then it talks about playing an episode, how this could be like how you would do a campaign structure, calling it a season, having episodes, and those episodes do not have to be, one-to-one season to episode, session to episode. All right, so casting the show again, emphasizing that this is a role-playing theatrical game, and this, again, beautiful illustration, a little bit of comedy, 4 archetypes, all there. So who are the archetypes? The archetype, first one, the aristocrat. Pretty straightforward. His primary traits, and they each have a primary. They're based on their primary trait. He is culture and etiquette, and your traits are like your skills or abilities. There's not a huge skill list. You basically use your dice pool based on how you are defining the scene. I'm going to use my culture and etiquette to say the right things in this party, or understand the cultural cues that are being done in this obscure play, and then you would roll for that culture and etiquette. And then each character also has scene cues, and these scene cues you can only use a few times per session, and they recharge. They give you a 1 to 3 as a guideline, but there are things like a surprising skill. You have a lot of time on your hands, So he developed unorthodox skills. So you could execute that scene cue to drive the narrative in a certain direction. So again, the rules are serving the narrative here, and you're using those mechanisms to guide the story in a direction you choose. Now, some of these scene cues do change your scandal and dignity. So you have a scandal and dignity spectrum, and if you get to the edges of those spectrums, there are secret societies that you can be a part of. So it does allow there is sort of a late game that you can engage in, and then it's also adds this fun dynamic where you could have some of your characters that start going down the scandalous route and some that stay on that dignity route, which I think again could elevate the possibility for comedic circumstances, which is really what this game is about. Character number 2, the staff. So again, getting to that upstairs downstairs idea common in Downton Abbey, where the staff sometimes, though they are not of the same economic class, they oftentimes have certain personal attributes that are excel or are greater than the nobility. And these can be like this the one of the this are funny. Like all these scene cues are funny. So this one, the staff has disarming charm. You keenly turn on your charm to make yourself irresistible. Be aware of whom you mean take make it messy. Of course, I think that's a common trope of this servant with this disarming charm. And then there's little quotes for each of these scene cues to help give flavor to it. Then you have your well-to-do. This is going to be, your striver, someone who is a professional in the 1920s, not who has made their success and money on their own. And then the final one is the bohemian. This is going to be your artist player. This is your they have an example would be, they have a passionate display. So if you want to play that sort of character who's doing, now they all are social, so it's not like there is a face character like in a normal game, and you're not going to be concerned so much about balance. Again, it's about how do you want your character to engage with the narrative and the scenarios. And it gives you examples of this sheet, and this sheet is really simple, and again, I think lowers the curve for people to approach this. And of course, your protagonist must have a flaw. And these, again, drive narrative decisions. They also have dilemmas, which is a burden. And you can flesh out their background. And then you have character traits. To start here, they are broken out: bravado, culture, etiquette, wit, and sharp, creativity, and passion. And you get a certain allotment based on your archetype, and then you get 5 more that you can distribute as you want, up to a certain level to start, and then as you progress, you can go above that level. That is getting pretty in the weeds there. But that gives you a sense of how you engage with the story and with the dice and with the system, primarily. Readies are your currency, and so this can be used to bribe people. Bribing is a prime example. So like a decent bribe would be 10 readies, and those recharge per session. You also have lucky coins, which are your ways of getting you don't roll an extra dice. I love this mechanic. So you actually flip the physical coin or 2, and you call heads or tails, and then based on whether you got it right or not, you can count it as a success. So if you fail a roll, you can say, I'm going to flip my lucky coin, see if that's going to get me there. All right, and now, got to this bookmark here. So this does have a lovely gold ribbon bookmark. There is a health system, but it's really just what your state of injuries are. No one is expected to die in this game. This is a comedy game. Now, I guess there's a lot of dark comedies where people die, so you up to your group, of course. But typically, you're going to get down to injured, and that can you can use traits to heal back up. And again, it's really more about narrative. If you're scuffed up, it's more about what does that mean in the scene. Like this scuffed up guy comes into this fancy party. What happened? Setting the stage talks about creating your social club. Gives some great examples like the Good Society or the After Party or the Bunch of Coots. And again, you're basing it around some sort of shared interest. Could be gardening, could be tea time, could be some just as social, could be educational, and then that also provides you with an opportunity. So within that social club, you also have member roles. So this could be club president, vice president, treasurer, and then there are extra roles. So this does set up that, like, well, I'm going to make my characters the president, VP, treasurer of this society, and that would be a fun way to play. It's not necessary though. You have besides your main characters, it is assumed that there are other people in the social club, so you have easy access to other NPCs. And then there are a list of upgrades here, so you can add a library, and the prime upgrade is a swimming pool. What? It's a swimming pool in a club. Is that not enough for you? And you need a level 13 renown to get there, and it doesn't have any mechanical benefit, which is great. The other ones do. But this one does not. And this is a running joke. This happened. They talk about the swimming pool later. Welcome to the campaign setting. It gives you a nice map here of Picadillo, and it gives you all the kind of districts that you would expect to tell your different stories: a pastoral district, a more industrial district, a suburban district, the docks area. Goes into details about each of those areas, providing you with some landmarks, some hooks, some pubs and nightclubs. Again, I love too how this is done in the design work. It looks like there's these little pieces of paper that are, and this tape looks hyper realistic. It looks like it's just taped into the book. Talks a little bit about beyond this world, like going to the islands or the bay, or and then different events that could happen here. So again, giving more about giving you hooks on the storyline. Visit what are you going to do in this place? Well, here's some ideas, and here are some shops that you could go to as well. So you've got your pieces, you've got your characters. How do you put this all into play? There's a little bit of here for this game director, talking about how you are going to handle these character traits, what you are responsible for. I think this is really helpful. It talks about breaking the rules, understanding that they are not hard, set in stone rules. Talks about social standing, again, that scandal and dignity spectrum, and how that can affect role play. And then it gets into those secret societies, and it gives you some examples of secret societies, like the mint juleps. Talks a little bit about how you can run a campaign, again, digging more into detail about the structure, that episode structure, and then how do you actually go about playing the game. What are the story hooks? And it gives you 70 story hooks, which, again, great value here. These story hooks could easily be plopped into any role-playing game that you are playing. I think even a fantasy, a heroic fantasy one, if you wanted to have a comedic story, you could pull one of these out and easily adapt that. So just a lot of value being delivered here, again, with this wonderful art scattered throughout. This guy, this hilarious. Cuteness, little throughout cuteness. Yeah, there's a lot, 70 of them. But again, I'm flipping through this so you can see this art that is throughout here. Just fantastic. The hat has a little bit of mechanics in here, so again, it's reminding you that you are in the 1920s, where there's a lot of this technology of modern society is just coming into being. So that, of course, gives you a lot of options. And then it gives you some examples of seasons. So if you want a more out of the box experience, does provide that for you, where you could start as the Sleuth Society or the Best Buds, a gardening club. And it even gives you a breakdown of how you could go through that whole mission. So, or through that whole campaign, through that whole season. So this gives you a whole, 9-episode situation. This gives you a couple months of playtime, a good guideline for that. It also gives you Brabble Manor, which is a fantastic, more of a sandbox setting. Gives you a map here. It's talking about the summer solstice jamboree, so you can bring all your characters together into this event full of guests and scandal and relationships, all feeding into, and it's some fun NPC characters, all feeding into these great ideas that will lend themselves to these comedic situations. Adopt the lingo, so 1920s slang here and some of the phrases. And the great thing about it is you are actually rewarded mechanically for using these. So you are encouraged to give people lucky coins for using the lingo or phrases. So again, just a great little idea that brings your characters more into the world, the role play, the tone. Fanciful words. And what does the fashion look like? Even talk about that. So, and again, some illustrations that look like they came out of a catalog at the time. Again, very smart, focusing on the tone, the period, the time, but also providing information for the user. There's the men's column, the headwear, accessories. They're doing the same thing here. Here's a menu, again, like taped in to the book here with some, I think, legitimate recipes. Should try them out. And tables. I'm so grateful that they provide tables at the end too, so you can run through these and quickly name your NPCs, give them characteristics. You need to come up with a location, and then their backer list. So again, this is a crowd-funded campaign. They call out their backers here. The social club sheet at the end. Again, this gives you a good sort of indication of what you are going to play here. Easy for you to copy, or of course you could print out the sheets from their website. Gives you a map that you can show your players of Brabble Manor, and a place for notes. It's a physical book. You should note it up. Memory of Taco. Oh, so sweet. So this is a fantastic book. What is it? 140 some pages. Beautifully designed. Amazing illustrations. Just, you can tell love was put into this book. A ton of love and care. Love for the genre. A love for the hobby. And a great melding of them. So I have a few copies of these on sale at the bookshelf. You can pick your copy up now. They are on sale. And you can sign up for a newsletter, get an extra 10% off on it. And again, this is something to expand the hobby, and proud to support it. Bring it to the bookshelf. I'll be doing these once or twice a week, these TTRPG flip throughs. If you like them, like and subscribe. Thanks again, and happy gaming.